As project manager, I'm leading teams towards different objectives, and we are leading them towards scope, time, budget, and quality. And 90% of my job is communication. And the world has changed really a lot compared to, let's say, when I started 20 years ago. And so that's what I would like to share with you tomorrow, if maybe I can go to the next slide. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Okay, so 20 years ago when I started to join the company, it's hard to believe for most of you in the room, but mainly we have voice. So we had phone with wire, and that was the main tools that we were able to use. And we also had paper, so we could send reports, and of course in your life you had books and newspaper. And nowadays the things have changed dramatically. As you know, we can use instant messaging, we can text, we can use internet, we have social media, we have the web, we can do video conference. And my big question for you to share today is, will we still be speaking to each other tomorrow? And basically, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities that bring all those new forms of communication that are available today? And I will explore 3 areas of communication management. The first one is content management. So again, I will go back in time 20 years ago. As a project manager, what will be the meeting looks like? Basically, we were some people in a meeting room. Maybe we had someone over the phone, and the meeting would take place. We would share the status of the project. We would share the next steps. And then I would go back to my office, I would write the report, I would print the report, and the report will be mailed to the people that are attending the meeting, or some of the other people that needed to be informed. And that took about 2 days. And then a week passed, and then we met again, and so on. Nowadays, it's nothing like that. Nowadays, I'm in the meeting room, and then over the phone, we have a video conference, and I have colleagues that are in Finland, in France, in the US, and I'm in Gatineau with a team of people. And same, the meeting is not only about speaking, even so we are speaking most of the part, but I'm able to share my screen. We go to share information. Someone has something to share. He can share what is on his computer. And then when the meeting is over, I just read my notes again, 5–10 minutes, and then that's done. Everyone has the meeting minutes in their email. So much faster, a lot of more interaction, and then we can communicate with experts that are all over the world. And again, during the week, nothing to do with what it was before. During the week, few hours after the meeting, people will start to interact. We start to provide a status about what has been going on since the last 2 or 3 hours, and so on until the next week. And we would have been able to go deeper and deeper into what's going on. So at first you would say that this is something wonderful, and it is. It's allowed now to build projects with experts which are, as I say, all over the world, and we are able to share much more than just something by speaking. So we go much faster. However, the analysis up front that I would say we had to do, it was a must before, because we were really not able to talk to each other during the week, or at least share a lot during the week. So we would really analyze up front. We would prepare much better, and there will be less rework. So nowadays, something that is an iterative process that is, of course, a part that is very interesting and allows us to go faster, it also sometimes slows us down. Because people prepare less, and then we interact, we rework, we change our mind many times. So I think that part of the communication and the fact that now we have much more possible interaction led us into, let's say, less content and preparation. So that's something that I will have to bring on the table and explore about how those means of communication, new form of communication, have changed the way we are working. So content management is the first one. The second one is what we call stakeholders management. So stakeholders management, it's the notion of all the people that interact in a project. Of course, they are the team members of the project, they are their leaders, the manager around them, they are the customer that will deliver the product, or the teacher that you will deliver your project. But they are also much more than that. They are people that could interact whether you like it or you don't like it. And I like to take one example which is even older than 20 years, because that's a fairy tale that is 400 years old, and that's a Sleeping Beauty. So if you remember Sleeping Beauty, so what's going on, you have this queen and the king, and they are very happy, they have a new baby girl, and they are so excited, they are having a party. And they invite different fairies. And all their fairies came, the one that they invited, and they start to provide, you know, a good spell, beauty, kindness, intelligence. But then suddenly, actually one fairy originally, but that was not invited. She came, and of course, because she's upset, she hasn't been invited. Everybody thought that she was dead, and she was not. And then she cast this evil spell that the girl would die. Okay, there was a mitigation. Actually, she was only sleeping. Why I think this is something very interesting fairy tale that we could use nowadays is that we have to think when we communicate, when we prepare something, not only about the people we know and we want to address, but all the people that will be impacted. And if we think about using voice communication and communicate, that's a little bit easier to manage, because it means you have people in front of you, you communicate with them, you know where they are, you know who they are. But with the new forms of communication, especially if you think about social media or the web, you have many stakeholders that you don't know. And they are not always friendly, and or also you could, without thinking about it, you could do something that is against, you know, what they believe, and you have to think about that when you communicate. So all your stakeholders, the one you know and the one you don't know, and especially when you are not using, again, your voice. Because when you have someone in front of you, or even an audience, you can feel, you know, what's going on, you can see the emotion of the person. When you use non-voice communication, if you send information through social media or internet, you don't know as easily the feedback and what they will feel about what you are saying or what you are communicating. So think about the influence of the receiver, think about the emotion that they might feel about your communication, and especially, again, when you don't use your voice. Okay, the last point that I would like to address about how there are opportunities but challenges in the way communication has changed is about the volume of information. Okay, that's an obvious thing that we all know. We have a lot of more information that we could address or we could access. So because of internet, because of all of the social media and so on. And the same in the professional environment. We have much more information that we can use. So one way to manage all those sorts of information, it's basically time. So think about, you know, the time during the day, during the week that you want to dedicate to a certain form of communication about, you know, TV, internet, and so on, and dedicate those time. And that's something we see the same at work. We have a lot of interruption because of the mobile phone, because of the email, because of the instant messaging. And if we don't know, if we don't make a strategy about how we manage those communication, how we filter the communication, that's not something that is necessarily going to the right direction. So make your content selection in time, and as well as in the type of information. So basically that's something very obvious. If you have a deadline, you need to focus on this deadline. Now with all the new forms of communication, we have a lot of interruption, and that's much more difficult to do. And if I go back to my question, which is, we will still be speaking to each other tomorrow, definitively we will, because all the interaction that comes through, the human interaction that comes through the voice. But we are doing much more. And if we want to keep the same value of the communication, that is brought by the human interaction. We have to think about taking the time and making this content selection that will allow us to still communicate better, but differently than we used to communicate 20 years ago with all those means of communication. So, as a conclusion, definitively voice is still there, but we have much more than voice. So we have some that we know, and the one that I have already mentioned, but we have much more to come. We have sensors that are coming around us. We will have much more video, and there are some technology that we haven't even think about, and that definitely will impact the way that we will communicate within each other. I still think that voice will take an immense part of that communication. However, we need to manage our content. We need to manage the stakeholders, who are the audience, and we need to manage the information that, and the time that we are spending with all those forms of communication. So as a conclusion, manage your communication and take advantage of opportunities of all of those new means of communication.